All right, thanks for joining me today on my channel, and this is Discovering My YouTube, and I'm really a amateur YouTuber who does a lot of research with the expert gurus. And so what I've come across with the experts is great information, but sometimes I feel like as an amateur, it doesn't always translate. And so really I wanted to go over this point because for me, this really resonates, and I know for people starting out, it's just kind of like looking into the darkness. So even if you watch these videos, this might be some advice. So this is why you don't need to be perfect to start your YouTube channel, and here it goes. So growth happens through experience, and so I've come into a fair bit of experience over a few years, and so the more videos you make, the better you get. So learning comes through doing, which definitely is true. I've learned about videos, lighting, editing, producing the videos, and I'm still learning, and I've been doing this for a few years, and of course presentation. So hopefully my presentation is better than it was. Actually it is, so yeah, just have to take my word for it. So that's why you don't need to be perfect, because no matter how hard you try at the start, you're not going to hit all the check marks. Your first video won't be your best anyway, and that is so true, because I started doing videos and then I realized they were just total, well, crap is the word. And then I started doing some more videos, but I was trying to make them so good, and I did all these things to try and I got a new camera, and I got this lighting set up, and I did a whole bunch of things, and then I worked on editing it over and over and over and over again, and I didn't know that much about editing, so it was just like a nightmare for time. And I think I got 3 views on that certain video. That channel no longer exists, by the way, because yeah, that's another video. No one expects perfection. So if you're watching the gurus, then yeah, you kind of expect them to have a little bit better lighting, a little bit better editing, a little bit better whatever. But when you're doing something like I'm doing, like I'm sharing experience, I'm not trying to come across as an expert. I'm just sharing the experience I've had. I'm hoping you're not expecting me to be an expert, because I've openly said I'm not an expert. I'm an amateur translating what the experts have said, and hopefully this resonates with you so that you're able to get past kind of the humps that I've come across. You can improve over time. So much improvement has happened over time. So whether you believe that this is improvement or not, you might be watching this video going, it's not as good as this guy or that guy or the other guy, or sorry, I just picked guys, gals as well. You're looking at it going, wow, this is not that good of a video. But compared to my starting videos, yeah, it's like through the roof. Starting now builds momentum. And so really what that does is, like, when you start out, the algorithm doesn't really know you. Your audience hasn't really connected. You don't have any subscribers. So they're kind of showing your video to a lot of people who might be looking at this type of content, right? So people who are looking to be new YouTubers and they're researching it are going to get shown my video. So you may look at this and go, well, that's great, but I want expert advice. Okay, so you'll click off and you'll go somewhere else. But if you're like, okay, I've looked at the expert advice, but I'm not getting through, so this is resonating with me. So what has this person had difficulties with, and do I keep going? Well, in my opinion, you kind of should if you want to do it, and if you don't want to do it, then maybe you've chose the wrong thing. But I'm not an expert. So momentum thing, I definitely would say yeah for that. Whoops. Most viewers care about value, not production quality. Now that is true to a certain point, but obviously there is the big YouTubers have a lot of quality added in because they've learned a lot of things, and so they get more and more viewers. and they get more people coming back. And so you want to show that you care over time, that you're improving yourself, right? Either your video quality, your editing quality, so on and so forth. They also can hire people to do other things. Like they're going to do the videos, they're going to do the scripting, but they probably hire someone to do the editing. They hire someone to do other things that they don't really want to do or take more time. And therefore, because they're getting millions of views or hundreds of thousands of views, they're making money off of it, they can afford to hire someone to do it. When you're new, you can't necessarily afford to do that. So you're not going to be able to maybe do that as cost efficient as they can. But in the meantime, the viewers who really want your information are going to come back regardless. And the ones that are kind of on borderline, they'll start coming as you improve. So that's kind of a tosser on that one, because production quality doesn't matter at the beginning because you're really resonating with a certain group of people. As your channel grows, you're going to get more and more people then on the fringe who might care more about that. But again, to get started when you're new, they're not going to worry about it as long as your message is connecting with your audience. But I really bounced around on that one, hey? Maybe I should have been a lawyer. Perfectionism leads to procrastination. So that is so true, because the more you think about all the things you need to do, the longer it takes you to get going. And once you get going, there's so much to learn. Like when I got the new camera that I talked about earlier, it took me a while to learn how to use the camera. And I was not a photographer, videographer, or whatever kind of anything to do with cameras. So it was a huge leap, and I had to learn how to use the camera. And then the lighting became an issue, and blah, blah, blah. And then editing. I now use DaVinci, but when I started using DaVinci, it was huge, right? Huge learning curve. I was trying to do on my iPad and my iPhone, and so iMovie, and it's cumbersome and so on and so forth. So until you kind of learn a few tricks, yeah, it's, you know, the more you try and perfect things, the more you're going through, and it just takes longer and longer, right? So I tried to get a better camera. That cost me more time. I wanted to do more editing, better editing. That was a whole learning curve, yada, 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 right? So there's always a learning curve. So it's really just get started and add pieces as you go, because it's going to take you time to learn all the things that you want to do, to add all the perfections that you want to have. Oh yeah. Yeah. And so, and the planning itself just takes time. Like you can sit there and plan out 30 videos, but it takes time to do that. So I just talked about it. You can upgrade as you go. So really upgrades, some things are there for better quality. Also, some things are there for ease of use. Like when I do my editing with DaVinci, it's so much easier to use than iMovie. Right? So when I'm doing iMovie on my iPad, there's certain things that it's pretty straightforward. So there's not as many things you can do. But when I'm doing cuts and this and that and the other thing, it's not quite as easy. Maybe it's just me, but using my thumbs to do things as opposed to using the mouse is a little bit different. So upgrading as you go is kind of the best method, because you get used to doing something, so you become more efficient at it, and then you switch and you got to start over. So doing little upgrades along the way help you kind of do that. And so once I got with DaVinci, I didn't look at any other programs because I liked it. It was good. I learned it, but the camera thing I got rid of, because the camera there was always something I messed up with the camera. So I'm actually back using my iPhone. And sometimes I'm not happy with it, but for where I'm at, it's good. And the camera is something I'll go back to, because when I nailed the camera, it was awesome. But when I didn't nail the camera, it was disastrous. And then sound is something that I still struggle with, but I feel like where I'm doing my videos right now, sound is just fine. Maybe you disagree, but yeah, we're going to go with sound is fine. And I do have one thing on my editing that does help with that. So there you go. So sometimes mistakes make you more relatable. So as I'm talking through this and I'm maybe kind of looking at my notes where somebody else might not have their notes, or they might do a whole different editing system. And I'm looking down here and I'm going, mistakes make you more reliable. And you're like, why isn't he looking at the camera? Well, maybe that's a mistake, or maybe that just is something where I'm trying to be more efficient. Sure, we'll go with that. But then if I do my editing, like sometimes I've done editing where I've cut too much and then I go back and look at it, or I haven't cut my shorts to the right size, so then they look terrible because I've got a large picture on a short screen and now you just see my forehead. So sometimes that happens and I forget to check it, as where the pros typically don't do that. But it makes you more relatable to people when you have little mistakes that happen, and your audience kind of will get used to it to some degree, as long as you're trying to put out good information. So definitely don't be afraid to make those mistakes. Correct them where you can. If they're terrible mistakes, get rid of the video, redo it, and that'll just be that. Sometimes I just have to redo videos. Every YouTuber starts somewhere, so just remember that. Mr. Beast, I think, is the biggest YouTuber right now, and he talks about in different videos how he began, and it took him forever to get going, and then he finally had one video that just took off, and finally his channel took off. And if you look at his old videos to where he is now, I mean, night and day, right? So definitely you can see that he didn't start at the level he's at, so perfection is not attainable even for the best on the first video. So take it to heart and say, you know what, I just have to go out and deliver what I want to deliver. I really want to do this. I really want to get this word out. I really want to be connecting with people on this subject. And so for me, I really like making videos. I really like talking about the challenges of creating a YouTube channel, and so I like that part of it, so that's why I'm making my videos. So I hope that, coming from an amateur perspective, I'm able to give you something that's relatable, that's maybe not quite the same as what the experts do, because the experts are, they were dealing with it like 5-10 years ago when YouTube was kind of a different platform in a sense. Whereas I'm going through it right now and I've had so many failures, and I'm trying to understand their information and relate it. So hopefully I can pass that on to somebody else and get you past the mistakes I made and go from there. So what I would do is, in this case, I'd go check out some Mr. Beast videos and try and find one of his older ones and do that. And I've seen his older ones. I think I've even seen his first one, and do that, because then you can kind of see the difference between then and now and understand that where you're at, it is a total progression, and that's why you don't need to be perfect, just get it going. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you for the next video. Don't forget, subscribe and like.